Hello and welcome once again to It's a Frankly Hairy podcast. I'm your host, Frank Weber. So glad you could join me once again in the forest today. I have a great show for you today. I'm probably going to be sharing with you a lot of personal stories and some things that have been happening recently. And last week I was planning on going into a subject that is hard to kind of put together and build and discuss, I guess you could say, had something to do with this extreme desire for fame in a lot of people as a result of the social media era, and how that extreme desire is actually just an outgrowth of our desire to be known and accepted and loved for who we are. And that's actually originally comes from God's personality. We all have a certain combination and extent of God's personality in us, but that would have been a really hard topic to develop, and I'm trying real hard on this show to get people to, I guess, kind of just look at their values and their priorities and their balance in life, and get them thinking a little bit. But I sometimes I'm not sure if I articulate it well or if it's just too much for them to digest. I don't know, but I'm planning on talking about that some other time. It's basically on the shelf right now, the fame discussion that I was wanting to get into, but I really wanted to talk about a few other things here instead on this show. And I hope you're finding the show riveting and entertaining, and at least mildly interesting, if not those other two things. I put a lot of work into it, and I hope no matter what the topic, even if it seems mundane or simple or silly or outrageous or whatever, there's always something to be learned from it. And that's what I put a lot of effort into, and I hope you appreciate that and enjoy this show to the greatest extent possible. Like, for example, I talked about last week how we could learn a lot from game shows, and how people in this country in particular were so much happier even in previous times that were not, historically not really looked upon as being that great, and yet they reflected that happiness, things like that. I mean, even if I talk about the weather and sports, both of which I'm probably going to talk about in today's show, by the way, or something else that's important to me. I mean, it's there's always something to be learned and possibly even be entertained by. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know, some of you may know and some of you may not, depending on how far away you're listening, but we continue to have a very shitty 2025 weather year here in Canyon, and my wife and I are getting pretty tired of it. It goes back all the way till January, or since at least January of this year. Obviously, January and February we have to deal usually with at least a couple of times of extreme cold, and of course, I think there was maybe one big snow this year, but no blizzard. So I guess we were lucky in that regard. And then in March, we had a lot of high winds and dirt blowing around, and even blew down some things that you don't typically blow down. And then March and April, we had late snows, which is always annoying. And then end of April, we had a severe thunderstorm that apparently was a tornado not too far from here that messed up some people's roofs. And then since at least about Memorial Day or so, we gotten this pattern of severe thunderstorms every single day. We haven't had rain or storms at the house every single day, but somebody in the area has, and we've had at least 3 big hailstorms. The first time the hail was pretty small. I thought the second time, this is all in the last couple of weeks, by the way, I thought the second time it was pretty small as well. And my nice class 4 roof should have held up from both of those, but then we had a weird thing happened this past Saturday night, where we got a little bit of very large hail that wound up totaling the roof and broke only one pane of window on the west side of the house. It's amazing that all the windows didn't get broken. Blew out the screens and everything like that. And now we're coming out of this pattern, and I suspect at some point here pretty soon the spigots are going to go totally dry, and we may even go back into a drought. I mean, that's a reasonable prediction for this place and this time of year, but of course I can't guarantee for sure that'll happen, but that would not be surprising. But anyway, it's gotten both my wife and I down, and I think we're very likely, we've been talking about moving anyway for various reasons, and now I think it's almost assured that we'll be moving here within the next year or two for sure. And it's not 100% exactly where we'll go or the timing of all this, and selling this house and buying another one, but it's pretty sad. It's pretty traumatic when you hear, my dog gets upset by it, but it's traumatic when you hear hail bouncing against windows, and one of them is up high. And you always wonder if that's going to just break everything and start coming in and cause you a lot of water damage and everything. But I was a little upset too. The story that I would tell you, that I would rant a little bit on this, and I know I can't control the weather, but then you kind of look for some people who you might be able to, well, they can't control it either, but people you might be able to mildly blame. Okay, so Saturday night we were watching the news. There was a storm out, because this happened this past Sunday morning, the 8th, early in the morning, about 2:30 in the morning, was this really damaging storm, and damaged a lot of buildings and such property all over town. Got my truck a little bit too, by the way, but my truck's old and I'm not putting as much money into it. It has a few dents on the hood and roof, but they're pretty concave and smooth, and I don't know, I don't necessarily want to put a lot of money into that, but anymore. But we're watching the weather report, and one of the local stations has this new girl forecaster, and I'm not going to say the station or the name, I don't really know that on here, but there was a storm out by Vega, which is on Route 66, a little bit west of Amarillo. It's not too far from here either. And apparently it had like some severe weather to it and like a hail core. And so she basically said on the news that, well, it's going to impact Vega, but it shouldn't really do much after that. And I'm pretty certain, like 98, 99% certain that that's the same storm that came through here about 4 hours later. Now, I don't know why it took 4 hours, but when I looked at it on the radar, it had kind of the same look to it as that storm that was out west in Vega. And anyway, so that doesn't bode well. I don't know how many people picked up on that. I picked up on it, and you kind of want to be warned and prepared. I don't think I saw a future model on Saturday night either before that storm came in, but it adds more of a motivation to kind of leave here and go someplace else. Not that you can't have weather problems in other places or anything like that, but I don't know if I've ever mentioned on here some of the other things that have happened the past couple of years. But obviously I've had some difficulty with the dental profession and being a dentist in modern times, and having to protect your health, whereas if you're working for somebody else, they kind of want to put you, kind of crack the whip, as it were, keep you working and producing and all that, and the whole system isn't really working out anymore. So I've basically left that, and I've gone back into to college and studying a master's for financial planning and an MBA, and I'm really excited as far as where that will take me. really enjoying the work right now. But a couple of other motivations for leaving, because I'll tell you, be honest with you, Canyon's a great place. It's been great to be here for the last 14, 15 years. But like another motivation for leaving, though, and I haven't told you these stories because they were kind of personal. And again, I'm not going to say anybody's names or organizations' names or anything like that. But I have to tell you that I lost. There's a couple of places that I was really involved in and part of a community here, and I lost those. I guess technically both in 23, although the finality of one of them really didn't happen until 24. But I was for a number of years, I guess about 7 years, maybe almost 8, a member of a local country club where golf was the main activity, and enjoyed it there, especially in the summer times. We would get together every week, as long as the weather allowed, to play a scramble of golf, which is, basically like, being part of a different group and playing with them each week, and basically play like a 2-hour game of golf. I don't really want to go into how a scramble works on here, but that club in 23 apparently decided, and as they're a business, of course, they can kind of, the people running the show, the board, I guess you could call them, they can kind of do whatever they want to as far as needing to make more revenue and stay in business and all that stuff. So they really raised the price of the dues way above where it was, and a lot of people left as a result. And I thought it was really sad, because there are people quite a bit older than me who are part of that group and retired, and being on a fixed income, they might not be able to have afforded the new rates, but they got something very intrinsic and non-monetary out of it, and in terms of having a community where they can go and have fun and play golf and some other activities with one another, and so obviously, so I left as well, because it was just too much of an increase, and I had left industry. I wish them luck. I think there were some odd things that went over there, but I don't know. I wish I was more privy to the inner workings. I don't really want to go and judge them here on this public forum or anything like that. And then another thing that happened more slowly is I've been part of a civic group since I joined them, I think, in like 2013, so I had been a part of them for about 10 years, but my utility in being a member there had been declining for several years. Like it wasn't quite like it was, and part of the reason for that is they would get together once a week for a meeting, and then there might be some other activities around that you could volunteer for and work with people, give back, as well as getting to know other people. It's a really great setup. That's something that I've been wanting to do more of, is to volunteer with for a good cause and people that you like and that sort of thing. So this group allowed me to do that, but for the last few years they had gotten on a big growth kick. And I don't know if it could be profit or money oriented. It's an interesting concept, because that group, unlike the country club, of course, is a nonprofit organization, but just because you're nonprofit doesn't necessarily mean you don't want the revenue and everything. But so my utility had been kind of declining, and my membership status had kind of changed back and forth, and I thought 2 years ago, after I had left actually my job at my last full-time dental job, I guess you could say, I kind of changed my membership status back and forth, but then summer of 23, there were days where I was free and I could make the weekly meetings for lunch and everything, but I lost utility for it. And sometimes we just wouldn't go because I didn't feel like it, And the last meeting I went to, there was a guy, because this place has grown so big, I don't know everybody anymore. You're talking about a place that had maybe 70, 80 members when I joined, and now the rumor is now it's like 200 or something crazy, and almost, from my viewpoint, unmanageable. But there was a guy talking, the last meeting I ever went to was saying, like, yeah, they're talking about their growth thing, and they're talking about keeping people from falling through the cracks and leaving the club, and giving them a phone call to ask why they left, or say hi, and obviously be friendly with them, but also check up on them and see why they left and all that, kind of a big follow-up thing. Because I left for like the end of August of 23, never received a call like that or anything. And then in May of 24, I got what was essentially a bill in the mail for over $300 because I had switched back my membership. My membership status? If I go to an active membership status, apparently they're expecting that revenue every month. And I didn't just get a bill, but I got like this friendly, like, hey, Frank, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. We miss you. Hope you're okay. Contact us or whatever. It was really a weird thing to put with a bill of that size. And I, of course, had been confused apparently over that. Oh gosh, my mind's going blank already. It's tough getting old. I got confused because they had this warm greeting on the bill, but then they obviously wanted money from the bill, and I had never been contacted, as that other guy had mentioned several months before. So I basically dropped my membership. I still haven't paid them. I don't know. Perhaps I will in the future at some point. I don't know. But then I don't know if I'll still be in Canyon. But you can see the dilemma. There's something off about all those things that have been happening, particularly when I received that bill that one day. But it was just a weird situation. So I haven't gone back. Ideally, I'd like to go, but then would I still have the same utility of just going to this giant group and, having the same problems I had before I left in 23? I don't know. So anyway, from my perspective, that's all those things kind of come together about potentially leaving, or we will be leaving at some point here, just the timing of which I'm not that certain, or where we're going to go. But yeah, there's things have been pointing for a while that it's time, and perhaps you've had a situation in your life where the evidence is becoming overwhelmingly in the direction that's what you need to do. That's crazy, Codes, because this is a really good town and good people, good place to raise a family, but it's different. I don't really have, as I mentioned last week, I don't really have a true community at the gym. When you say hello to somebody and they just kind of stare at you, and what the hell is that about? But yeah, I just as a Christian, and if you happen to be a believer out there, I would just say your prayers for us, and that God will give us peace and direction and allow us to do everything we need to do, because I still have, I have some break times, of course, but I still have about a year and a half to go on this college program of calendar time, and I'm having to move and do all the stuff associated with that in a period of I'm always thinking about this. Having to do all of that while you're in classes in session and everything, as opposed to break times, would be really, really difficult. And the only really significant break each year is is Christmas for a month. And the rest of them, if you go to school in the summer, all the other breaks are not more than a week or two. So I've got to figure out how to work that. So, but anyway, yeah, I'd love to hear your stories on this as well, because this is a sharing type of show. Both, I'd love to hear from you, hear what you have to think about that, and in addition to sharing the show with other people that you come across, and tell them about me and Frank Weber and all his hairiness and his crazy stories. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too much for you today. I feel obligated, though. I do have to say something about Texas Tech softball, and there's a lot of things I could say about the whole. I enjoyed, by the way, watching them in what they call the Women's World Series, which is, I don't know, which is crazy, because like the Women's College World Series is softball, the Men's College World Series, which is about to begin, is baseball. They're not the same game by any stretch, and I don't know why the NCAA co-ops them that way. It's really weird, but anyway, I could tell you a lot of stuff about it. I enjoyed watching it. It's a quicker game than college baseball by far, is college softball, and obviously there's some other differences that I won't enumerate here between softball and baseball, but I enjoyed watching Tech in their run. I thought it was really surprising that they wound up facing Texas in the finals, and that was very much a kick in the head. And the first two games were very riveting, but then, of course, the third game was disappointing. So I'm proud of them. I think this is I don't want to get too much into, this is a different era, obviously, in college sports, and you get some theories as to why we rose up so fast as a program this year, but I am proud of the team, and I'm glad they brought a lot of nice recognition to the university as the national runner-up. And I should congratulate Texas as well, because in the end they did what they needed to do to win. I will leave just saying, like, I don't understand how we have this all-star pitcher, Nigeri Kennedy, and it appeared to me watching this series that she was like the only pitcher we had, and I'm a little perplexed, because it appears these softball pitchers can pitch a hell of a lot more than what a typical baseball pitcher is allowed to do without ruining their arms and creating some sort of other ailments. You imagine, rotator cuff surgery or some other thing that baseball pitchers usually have. But she was a real workhorse, but in the end I thought she was overworked. And obviously by the time the third game rolled around, she's human like everybody else and wasn't able to pitch a great game. So I'm really wondering if that's on the coaching, or if it could have been done a different way. Everybody's going to always second guess, of course, about whether a loss could have actually been a win if it had been done in some other fashion or some other strategy, I guess you could say. But yeah, congratulations to the Lady Raiders softball, and also to the Longhorns as well on their national championship. But anyway, that's about all I have to say here for today, and I hope you have a great week ahead, and as I always say, just help me be in your thoughts and prayers. I hope we don't have another hailstorm or anything. It seems the weather's stabilizing a little bit, but I still have to deal with insurance and contractors, some of which are great and some of which have not been so great over time. So anyway, I ask you for that, and of course just ask you, as always, your comments, maybe even some direct messages, if your direct message has a substance to it instead of just saying hello, then I'm very, very likely to respond to you. But like always, whoever you run into, whether it's at the gym or the grocery store or your insurance company or your contractor or whoever, just try to share the show for you. Share the show with them. Tell them about me, and tell them that it's kind of a thinking man's podcast, and commenting on things, trying to get people to learn or at least think about different things is what I'm really trying to do here. And but even if I move, which I probably, like I said, we probably are going to move, I'm just going to continue to do this show as much as possible, and really hoping to evolve it here in time, but it may take a little while. But to see where it really wants to go. It would obviously be better with guests and interviews and people sitting down with people, but then it would also be a much longer show if I were to do that. So anyway, I'm going to leave it right there. I've said enough today. I think my throat is kind of getting a little parched. But anyway, until next week, this is your host, Frank Weber from It's a Frankly Hairy Podcast. I'm so glad you were with me in the forest today, and we'll see you again in the forest again next week. Bye. I love you. Take care.